Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Edwards. Joining us now to discuss today's important news from Atlas Salt is Atlas President Roland Howe, as well as CEO Patrick Laracy. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Cindy.
Good day, Cindy. How are you?
I am well, thank you very much. Well, as usual, I will begin with Mr. Salt. Now, Roland, so much salt are the three words that come to mind with respect to what Atlas Salt has in the Bay St. George Basin of Western Newfoundland after today's latest news regarding Fishel's Brook. So, what does Great Atlantic have that Fishel's Brook does not? Because we now know that Fishel's Brook has copious amounts of salt, perhaps all the way down to 2,400 meters or more.
Absolutely. I mean, the dome is a massive amount of salt. But, Great Atlantic, the deposit we call Great Atlantic salt, is so close to Turf Point. So you've got that huge logistical advantage of being able to ship out of Turf Point, and it's shallow. It's one of the shallowest deposits in North America. So being able to access it by inclined tunnels is just a huge advantage. We wouldn't have to use shafts, and you've got this continuous access opportunity, which just makes operations so much better.
Now, Roland, I'm sure we'll be getting an update soon on Great Atlantic in general. Are you pleased with how the feasibility study is proceeding toward the finish line?
Generally, yes. No surprises, and really nothing that is sort of pointed to a fact that we didn't, sort of foresee what we might come up with. This is it's just proving to be everything we thought it was.
Now, Roland, you've been in the salt business now for more than 3 decades. And as mine manager, you helped Goderich double its production to become the gold standard of underground salt mines in the world. Now, did you ever expect to see salt domes become such an integral part of the global energy evolution or revolution, as we're seeing now with respect to underground storage of hydrogen?
Salt domes have always been synonymous with energy. And in fact, probably the most obvious example is along the south coast, the Texas, Louisiana coast of the Gulf of Mexico. The strategic oil reserve is actually stored in salt domes down there. And salt domes are typically where you find oil deposits too. So not surprising that some of the characteristics of salt are very good for storage of energy, and particularly hydrogen. So it's really an exciting time. And here with Newfoundland on the brink of a wind and hydrogen renaissance, it's perfect. It's a perfect time.
And now, Patrick, let's turn to you. Lots to talk about on the corporate side with Atlas Salt, including the upcoming spin-out. First off, your thoughts on the technical report for Fishel's Brook. This is a huge salt deposit with some astonishingly deep roots.
Yeah, we're quite excited with the results. Obviously, the gravity survey we did last year was very important. The Apex report, the National Instrument 43101, is a fantastic compilation of historic information, also a verification of that information, which is very important because it's an independent assessment of what we've seen in the historic record, plus the data and value that we've added to the deposit ourselves.
We have a picture of you, Patrick, standing about 100 meters off the Trans-Canada Highway next to Hooker number 1, the historical drill hole that cut over 700 meters of salt and was still in salt when the hole ended at 1,100 meters. The fact this deposit is surrounded by such great infrastructure has got to be considered a major bonus.
Yeah, well, I remember that photograph. It was a bit wet that day, but we managed to get in there with a bunch of excitement because we are in the land of the living, right? We're just off the Trans-Canada Highway. A major power line is overhead. And this area was forested for pulp and paper for many years. So we're in a very accessible, strategic location.
Patrick, walk us through the process now for the spin out of Fishel's Brook and other mineral licenses into Triple Point Resources. You have a special AGM set for August 31st with the share distribution date of record scheduled for September.
Yeah, well, shareholders are going to receive a very thick document in the mail. When you do these types of spin outs, there's a lot of legal language that goes into our management information circular, which will describe in immense detail exactly what we're doing, what the numbers are, and what the process is. As you pointed out, the AGM is slated for August 31st. There's a few procedural things that need to be done following that. And we anticipate that the distribution record date will be September 21st. Now, that's the date on which you must own the shares of Atlas in order to receive the SpinCo shares in Triple Point. So I want to remind our listeners here that if they are warrant holders, they should exercise those warrants well in advance of that date, because it takes the time to process the exercise of the warrant and to get those shares in your brokerage account. So you need to have those in there well in advance of that distribution record date. Obviously, we will be putting out news releases to remind shareholders of that critical date, and warrant holders as well.
And just a little bit more on that, as you mentioned, Atlas distributing nearly 24 million shares of Triple Point to Atlas shareholders. Does it matter what jurisdiction you're in, Patrick? And will everyone receive their free Triple Point spin-out shares?
Yes, every shareholder, as of the distribution record date, will receive their SpinCo shares as per normal. It will end up in their brokerage accounts.
Okay, and Patrick, the Newfoundland and Labrador government has really stepped on the accelerator with regard to pursuing the potential for major wind energy and hydrogen projects in the province. Has the speed of this surprised you, and why now for Newfoundland?
Well, it hasn't really surprised me. We're well aware of several companies, very large entities that are looking at Newfoundland wind resources. So we know that the government of Newfoundland and Labrador have received proposals. In fact, one project has proceeded to an environmental registration process. So we're very happy that the government has been proactive here, has laid out a timeline and a process which will allow all interested parties to nominate areas in Western Newfoundland that they want to develop wind resources in. And then with that nomination process, the government will decide which areas are more favorable for wind from their assessment process. And then all entities will have a level playing field with the ability to make proposals to the government of Newfoundland and Labrador about the scale of the project, the location of the project, and all the intricacies that go with that. That process is slated to be wrapped up by the middle of February. So that's a pretty optimistic timeline. And quite frankly, the faster, the better. European consumers of energy are in Canada, particularly the Germans, looking for alternative sources of energy. And Western Newfoundland is high on that list, and we're extremely excited to be part of it.
You'll be happy to answer that call. Now, Patrick, when can we expect to hear more about the team that has been assembled at Triple Point, and what might their plans be for Officials Brook? And also, do you believe the key for Triple Point is to enter into a partnership deal with a major company in the renewable energy space?
Yeah, the process of soliciting a qualified team is well underway, and the particular individuals with the requisite qualifications are on our radar list. In terms of how Triple Point evolves, I think Triple Point is going to have several opportunities in front of it, and the company will decide which route to take, which is, of course, most beneficial for shareholders.
Well, gentlemen, these are indeed exciting times for Atlas Salt and its upcoming spin-out. Thank you both very much for joining us today, and I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, Cindy.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.